Monsignor Gerard Kalumba, parish priest of Christ the King Church in Kampala at Colville Street 3. I'm here to take you through the journey of Christ the King Parish all the way back in 19,000 when the church started in this place, not as a parish, but as a community of Asians, basically Goans who had come from India and were involved in the construction of the railway from Mombasa. And at that time it had come up to Kisumu. And you had a community here of these Asians who were basically Catholics and wanted to worship, to have a church where they could have their spiritual nourishment. So the community used to go either to Rubaga for worship or to Nsambia for worship. But those were places at that time which were a little bit far away. So eventually the Mill Hill priests were given the opportunity of assisting this community coming from Nsambia Parish, which was run by the Mill Hill Fathers. So they are the one who started coming to Christ the King community then, where they didn't have a church, and they started organizing the community of the Indians in this place and assisting them in their spiritual needs. Eventually, the idea of constructing some church started, and they had to look for land where to construct the church. They started by thinking of a plot where you have Buganda Road Primary School now, I think, but the place was not found feasible for the church at that stage, at that time, and eventually they landed in this on this plot, which belonged to an Indian, Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali, I think, sold it to the community, to the church, and that's how the development of Christ the King Parish now started, with getting a piece of land in this place. This place is very central. It is in the middle of the road. Of course, not physically, it's not the best place as such, but it's very convenient for many people who come to worship in this place because of its centrality to the major office places like the Parliament, like Prime Minister's office, like the Finance Ministry, Foreign Ministry, NNSF, Communication House, which are modern this year, and many other working places in this place. So it is very, very convenient for many people to come early in the morning before they go to work, or at midday, at 1 o'clock. We also have a service where people come. So from that point of view, in modern times, even at that time, it was a very convenient place for people to come and worship. The first church was started, construction of the first church started way back in 1920 something, but the church was never completed until 1930, when the church was actually blessed and the people started using a small church which had been built by the Asian community. At that stage, the church cost them about, the contractor, who was an Indian also, Singh, charged them 7,500 shilling at that time, but it was also a lot of money then. And they tried to start and correct it, but the money got finished, and the priest then, who was in charge of the construction, had to go home and look for more funds. And then eventually the church was finished, and Bishop Campling opened this church in 1930. But that time they didn't have a priest's house, so priests continued to come from Zambia to celebrate Mass in this church. So the location is very convenient, but the people who come here now, the community continued growing in our modern times, and the church was extended in the 1970s. It was extended because after the Asian community was expelled from this country, unfortunately at that time, 1972, the African community also came in, and the church became a little smaller with different leadership. They decided to extend on the church, and the extension was done, I think, in the 1970s, and activities continued to expand. The youth activities, marriages. This church was very, very popular with people having weddings in this place. At that stage, there were many people who lived in town, in Nakasero Hill here, and even downtown and the Kololo Hill. There were many people who lived in the area, which is a bit different from what we have now. People have moved out of town now, and majority of the people who come to the church are not necessarily residents in these areas. They are mostly workers, people who come to work in town. There are still a few people who are residents, but not so many. But those who are around still enjoy the location of this church. So the space is not big. It is a small space, and it is almost now completed with the expansions that have taken place. The first expansion was done by the present Archbishop of Kampala, Archbishop His Grace Paul Semogerere, who was a parish priest here from the early 1990s to 2008, when he was appointed Bishop of Kasana Luwelo. He built a community center where we are now, which we are using as an office and as a church, as we now reconstruct a new church for this place, and a new presbytery and new offices for the church. So these are some of the projects that have taken place. The Archbishop at that time, the parish priest of this place, was in charge of the construction of this community center called Wamala Hall, and also the Platinum Building where we have the nursery school. They wanted to have a place where people who come to work town can have their kids assisted in a nursery form. So they constructed also the Platinum Building, which holds the nursery section, but also they added on and holds also the parks, insurance, and a few other offices on that structure. Basically, spiritual nourishment of people. That's the basic activity that the church must offer in this place. And people come here basically for Mass, and we have 3 services on a daily basis, at 6:20, at 7, and at 1 p.m. We have services for the people to come for nourishment of their faith in the Catholic tradition, what we call Mass or the Eucharistic celebration. That's the main activity. But also there are many other activities of devotional type. People come here for their devotional prayers through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Legion of Mary. We have other groups like the Charismatic Renewal Movement. They have their groups. These are the younger people, and they use that group. We have other youth activities. The youth themselves are organized, and they even have a choir. We have many choirs, about 7 choirs here, which also come here for assisting the churchgoers in prayer by singing. We have about 7 choirs in this place, I think 7 or 8 choirs in this place, which all put people together, especially young people, to use their talents to assist others to pray. So we have devotional activities, we have mass, we have choirs, we have youth activities, but we don't have, of course, playgrounds here where people can go and play football. But when they are invited for football or other sports activities, they can go to Nsambya and some other places for their practices. So the place is not big enough. In recent years, from 2016 November, the community started reconstructing a new church and a new residence for the priests. So the new residence for priests is complete, and the priests are using it already. It's a 4-storied building which can house at least 6 priests and also the people who assist us to work in this place. So that's a great work that has been done by the community, because the funds that have constructed this structure has all come from the community of Christ the King Parish. So, but now the extension and expansion of the church turned into a total new construction of a new church, because the engineers and the contractor told us that they could not extend and expand on the existing church. So they demolished and they started a totally new church. So this is another big project that is going on. It's one project. The residence of priests and the church is one project in 2 phases. The first phase was the priest's residence, and the second phase is now the ongoing construction of the church, which is nearing completion, but needs quite a lot of funds to finish. But otherwise, it's a big church which can host a minimum of 1,300 people. But if people sit anywhere, anyhow, they can even sit up to 2,000 people. But to sit in a normal way, it is about 1,300 people. So that's a new element in this place here, and it needs quite a lot of assistance from everybody, including prominent people around us, and the most prominent around us also government offices and so forth. The parliament has already assisted us a bit with some funds, and the individual members of parliament have also assisted us, and the community has had recent fundraising where the community members have assisted us with some funds to complete this church. But we still appeal to all goers, to all people who come to our church, to do their best to contribute so that we can finish the church. So this is the challenge we have, that we raise funds to complete this church. It is near completion now. What is remaining is just a bit of windows and painting, and then possibly very early next year, the first 2 months of next year, we look forward to the use of this church. So that's the challenge we have, basically, to get funds to finish. So we appeal to all, including government. If they want to assist us, they are most welcome to assist us with the funds. But I am very, very grateful to the community, because the community has been very, very supportive. They have so far raised more than 11 billion shillings to construct this church, and we still need about 7 billion to finish the work. And I'm very, very confident that with the love of people, with the love of the people for their church, and the other people who support this place for its contribution to the welfare of people's minds, people's spiritual life, will help us and get the work done and finished. So thank you very much. This is the major challenge we are facing now. Well, the name Christ the King Church started when this place was being dedicated as a church. When the church was finished and it was being dedicated, it was at a time when they were celebrating the feast of Christ the King. and so it was dedicated to the Holy Trinity, I think, and then Christ the King. Christ definitely is the base, is the foundation of our faith. Christ and his kingship is not so much about ruling and governance, but it's about his offer of his life, especially on the cross. That's why the cross is very, very central in our places of worship, because that's where the kingship of Christ is portrayed in a most dramatic way, in a way which may look contradictory, because how can you be on the cross and you say you are the king? But that's exactly what it is. He's on the cross and he's the king, because those who put him on the cross thought they had been very successful in destroying him, but then it's after that they were shown that he was the one who destroyed them, and he came out of the tomb, and even the soldiers who were guarding scattered. So that's where his kingship comes from. And so when we say Christ the King, that's the image we are supposed to emulate. Not kingship that we govern others and rule them and be their masters and so on and sit over them. No, but Christ the King, who serves, who liberates, who redeems, who offers love for all, who is merciful, especially to those who may go wrong. Is very merciful to us all, and we go wrong very often. So that's where the kingship of Christ the King is. Today, those of us who come and pray in this place, how are we? What image are we taking out there in the communities in these challenging days, challenging times of not of only the church but even of the country? There are so many challenges we are facing in society, in politics, in the economy, in so many areas, and the temptations are so many. People are tempted to do so many things in order to survive, and most of those things sometimes are wrong. The words we are using today may not portray that we are really developing ourselves, but they portray the tricks we use to get what we want. Okuyiya, okupanga, and things of that nature. Maybe okuyiya is a very good word. Kupanga, I don't know how good it is, but they are not used in the manner of saying that people are inventive, but they are inventive in a manner of conning others to get money from others, or using places of authority to amass riches for ourselves, but not assisting the country to develop. So as members of Christ the King community, we have that duty, that responsibility to go out there after our nourishment, after we nourish ourselves in this place. We have to go back there, out there, and assist in portraying that image of Christ, who offered his life for the redemption of everybody, for the love of everybody, for the mass of everybody. That's a major task that we have. It's a challenge to us all, not only to all of us have to do. I myself and all others have the same challenge. We are praying that the actual church structure gets finished, because it is becoming a hindrance. Without that structure, we have a hindrance to many activities, even office activities, because the new offices are under that church, which is not done yet. They are ready, the offices are ready, but we can't use them before the church is open, because they are just under the church. So what we plan, what we hope, that once
the church is finished and we begin all normal activities once again, people will, of course, people like ordinary, like most people are, they might be excited about something new. Big numbers again might turn up and so forth. So we have to plan ahead and see how to assist people who will come back for weddings. Some people are saying we are waiting for the church to have our weddings, And some have said, but people might criticize us. The church may be finished and we don't come for the wedding, but we are telling them we are waiting for Christ the King Church to be done. So weddings, usually here we have so many weddings, and that is one of the activities. We are unlucky because of the urban center kind of. We don't have many people who live around us where we can go and find them in their homes. That's not a major activity in this place. Much of the activity of Christ the King finds us here on spot, but it keeps us very, very busy, and it goes very far because, as you know, some of the people who associate with this church come from a bit of a distance, and for them they tell you, this is the church we know, this is the church we associate with. So it's a bit of a challenge in church structures, because as a church we only belong to Nakasera and the Kororo, but people who come and associate with us come from far than Nakasera and the Kororo. So there are many activities that are possible, and especially when the church is finished, this hall here where we are, we return back to its normal activities, meetings of people, associations, meetings of associations, council meetings to plan for the parish. We all come back to their normality, and then of course the nursery area there, the kids will have their place of where they can play a little bit. It's a bit reduced, but still it will be replaced so that kids can go back to have their place where they can go out and play a little bit as the younger kids. So there are many activities that are possible, but we need to finish the church first, because now we are congested and we can't do much in this kind of congestion, because we use most of this area, which should be for social activities, now for church activities, which is not very good. Before we end this program of Journey of Christ the King Parish, I am extremely grateful, very, very grateful to the community of this parish. This parish is highly thought of by people wherever they are. They think most people like to be in this parish, but maybe for wrong reasons. I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe people like to be in this parish for reasons of money. They think that this parish is rich and so on. But I don't think the richness of this parish is not about money and the funds. The richness of this parish is about people who want to nourish their spirituality. That's where this parish is rich. People come, and therefore I thank the community that takes this place as their place of worship, and for the contribution they make to see that this place is developed, that this place is run, to see that this place is what it is today. I thank other individuals. I may not mention names. There are many individuals who have in a particular way assisted this place in providing funds, especially in construction and so forth. But much of the funds have come from us locally. In recent months, in July, we had a fundraising function, but it was not the first one. We had a fundraising function in 2016 here in this hall, but this last one was in a Hotel Protea, and many people turned up to try to assist, and many are still coming up with funds to assist us. UBC, as I think very often come around, and I thank you for the opportunity to narrate the Journey of Christ the King Parish on television, UBC, but also many other media houses have come up to assist us to get out to the people out there with the message of Christ, not so much for looking for funds as such, but for the message of Christ to the people. So we thank, recently even the Parliament invited us and gave us some funds for the construction of the church, and many others are still inviting us to assist us in the construction of the church. There are many business people that have assisted us, and we continue to thank them, and we pray that we all continue to do our work and do it well and be successful in what we do. I thank you very much, UBC, for this opportunity.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
On UBC, the program that helps you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods.